When Elon Musk's phone rang at midnight, he almost didn't answer. It was an unknown number from South Africa, the country he left behind decades ago, but something made him pick up. On the other line was a nurse named Sister Tandu calling from a hospital in Johannesburg. She had terrible news. Elon's father, Elon Musk, had suffered a massive stroke. The doctors said he only had 2 weeks to live, maybe less. Now here's something you need to know. Elon and his father barely spoke. Their relationship was broken, painful. Elon once told a reporter that his father was a terrible human being. They hadn't talked in almost 2 years, so when Sister Tandio said his father was dying, Elon should have just said okay and hung up. But then the nurse said something that changed everything. "Mr. Musk, your father has one wish before he dies, just one. But he refuses to tell anyone what it is, not the doctors, not your brother, not your sister. He'll only tell you. He made me promise to call you. He says he needs to show you something he should have shown you 50 years ago." Elon stood alone in his SpaceX office, staring at the rockets below. His father had one final wish. After all the hurt, all the distance, all the cruel words spoken publicly, what could his dying father possibly want to show him? The question haunted Elon as he made an impossible decision. He had a Tesla earnings call in 2 days, a critical rocket launch, meetings with the president. Going to South Africa meant abandoning everything. Flying 17 hours to see a man who had caused him so much pain. But Elon couldn't shake Sister Tandu's words. He says this is the most important thing he's ever done. More important than any engineering project. More important than anything. What you're about to hear is the true story of what happened when Elon Musk boarded his private jet and flew home to face his dying father. What was hidden in that hospital room? What secret had his father kept for nearly 50 years? And what would Elon's response be? A response so beautifully unexpected that it would change both their lives forever. Stay with me through this entire story, because the truth that Elon discovered in room 847 of Mediclinic Santon will absolutely shock you. And his response? Well, it's something nobody, not the nurse, not his father, not even Elon himself, saw coming. This is the story of a midnight phone call, a hidden truth, and the healing power of forgiveness. This is the story of how love can survive even 48 years of silence. Let me take you back to that night. March 15th, 2024, 11:47 p.m., SpaceX headquarters in California. Elon Musk sat alone in his corner office, surrounded by 12 computer screens. The glow of 12 computer screens cast pale blue light across Elon Musk's face as he sat alone in his corner office at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the massive rocket factory stretched into darkness, silent except for the hum of night shift welders working on Starship's heat shield tiles. It was 11:47 p.m. on March 15, 2024. Most of the world was asleep, but Elon's mind raced through launch data, fuel calculations, and engineering problems that needed solving before dawn. His phone buzzed on the desk. An unknown number. International. The country code read +27 South Africa. Elon glanced at it and turned back to his screens, probably a reporter, maybe someone wanting money. He'd learned long ago that answering unknown numbers led to wasted time. The phone stopped ringing. 15 seconds later, it buzzed again. Same number. Elon frowned but ignored it. His eyes focused on a critical section of data showing stress fractures in the booster's grid fins. The buzzing stopped. 10 seconds passed. The phone lit up a third time. Same persistent number from South Africa. Something in Elon's chest tightened. 3 calls in 2 minutes meant urgency, meant emergency, meant something was wrong. He snatched the phone and answered. "Yes." "Mr. Musk," a woman's voice, warm but professional, with a gentle South African accent that immediately transported him back to his childhood. "My name is Sister Tandu Mbele. I'm a night nurse at Mediclinic Santon in Johannesburg." Elon's jaw clenched. His heart began to pound, a sensation he rarely experienced even during rocket launches. Johannesburg, a hospital, a nurse calling at midnight California time. "I'm calling about your father, Elon Musk," she continued. Elon stood up abruptly, his chair rolling backward and hitting the wall. His hand gripped the phone tighter. He hadn't spoken to his father in nearly 2 years. Their last conversation had ended badly, like most of their conversations. The relationship had been complicated, painful. for as long as Elon could remember. He'd once told a reporter that his father was a terrible human being, and almost every evil thing you could possibly think of he has done. Is he? Elon couldn't finish the sentence. The word dead stuck in his throat. He's stable for now, Sister Tandio said gently, as if she understood the complicated weight behind Elon's silence. But Mr. Musk, your father is 78 years old. He had a severe stroke 3 days ago on March 12th. It happened suddenly at his home in Pretoria, the doctors say. She paused, choosing her words carefully. They say he has perhaps 2 weeks remaining, maybe less. Elon walked to the window, staring down at the rocket components being assembled on the factory floor below. Engineers in white cleanroom suits moved like ghosts between the machinery. He'd built this company from nothing. He'd built Tesla from nearly bankruptcy. He'd revolutionized electric cars and reusable rockets. He'd done things people said were impossible, but fixing his relationship with his father, that had always seemed more impossible than Mars. I see, Elon said quietly. Thank you for informing me, Sister Embele. Mr. Musk, wait please. Elon stopped, phone pressed to his ear. Your father, he keeps asking for something, she continued. He won't tell the doctors what it is. He won't tell your brother Kimball or your sister Tosca. He refuses to speak about it to anyone except you. He made me promise, made me swear that I would call you directly. What does he want? Elon's voice was flat, guarded. He says he has one wish before he dies, just one, but he'll only tell you what it is. He'll only tell you in person. Elon's reflection stared back at him in the dark window, a 52-year-old man who'd conquered industries and dreamed of colonizing planets, but who still carried the weight of a broken childhood like stones in his pockets. Mr. Musk, Sister Tandio's voice softened. I know I'm a stranger. I know I don't understand your family's history, but I've been a nurse for 29 years and I've sat with many dying patients. Your father is frightened. Not of death, but of dying without telling you this one thing, without you hearing this one wish. Elon's hand trembled slightly against the cold glass. Did he say what he wants to tell me? No, sir, only that it's important. He said, tell Elon I need him to come home, just once more. I need to tell him something I should have said 50 years ago. The factory floor blurred as unexpected tears formed in Elon's eyes. After everything, after all the pain, the cruel comments, the public criticisms, the choices his father made that embarrassed their family, Elon Musk had one final wish, and only Elon could hear it. Elon ended the call and stood frozen at the window, his phone still pressed against his ear even though the line had gone silent. The reflection staring back at him looked tired, older than 52, worn down by sleepless nights and impossible goals. One wish, one final wish. The words echoed in his mind as memories he'd buried for decades suddenly surfaced like wreckage from a shipwreck. Pretoria, South Africa, summer 1984. 8-year-old Elon sat cross-legged on the concrete floor of his father's engineering workshop, watching with wide eyes as Elon Musk bent over a drafting table covered with electrical schematics. The workshop smelled of machine oil and soldered metal. Sunlight streamed through dusty windows, illuminating floating particles in the air. Hand me the wire cutters, Elon said without looking up. Young Elon scrambled to his feet and retrieved the tool from the pegboard wall, carefully placing it in his father's outstretched hand. Elon worked in silence for several minutes, his precise movements like a surgeon's. Finally, he leaned back and examined his work, a complex electrical component for a mining operation. Thinking isn't enough, Elon, said, still not looking at his son. Anyone can think. Doing is everything. Remember that. Yes, Dad, 8-year-old Elon whispered, hungry for any wisdom his father would share. But Errol had already turned back to his work and the moment was over. Pretoria, June 1989. 12-year-old Elon burst through the front door of their home on Waterkloof Ridge, clutching a floppy disk in his trembling hands. He'd spent 3 months teaching himself advanced programming. 3 months writing code late into the night while other kids played outside. 3 months building something he knew was special. He found his father in the living room, reading the Pretoria news in his favorite leather chair. Dad, look, Elon's voice cracked with excitement. I wrote a program, a space game called Blastar. I coded it myself, all 500 lines, and I sold it to a magazine for $500. Errol glanced up briefly, his reading glasses perched on his nose. He looked at the floppy disk, then at his son's eager face. "That's nice," he said, his voice flat. "Now go outside and do something useful. You spend too much time with computers." He returned to his newspaper. Elon stood there for a long moment, the floppy disk clutched in his hands, feeling something inside him crack. He was 12 years old and he'd just accomplished something remarkable, something most adults couldn't do. But it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Pretoria, April 1992. After his parents' divorce, 15-year-old Elon made a choice that would haunt him for years. His mother May had moved out, taking Kimball and Tosca. Elon looked at his father, brilliant, complicated, lonely Errol, sitting alone in the big house on Waterkloof Ridge. "I'll stay with you, Dad," Elon said quietly. Errol looked surprised. "You sure, your mother? You seem lonely, I'll stay." Years later, Elon would tell a reporter that choosing to live with his father was not a good idea. The loneliness in that house was suffocating. His father's criticism was constant. The emotional distance felt like living in Antarctica. But at 15, Elon didn't know that yet. He only knew that his father seemed to need him. He was wrong. Mediclinic Sandton, Johannesburg, March 15, 2024, 11:52 p.m. South African time. Sister Thandiwe Mbele sat at the nurse's station on the 8th floor, her hands wrapped around a cup of rooibos tea that had gone cold. She stared at her phone, wondering if she'd done the right thing by calling Elon Musk. She was 52 years old with 29 years of nursing experience. She'd seen hundreds of patients die, but something about Elon Musk's desperation had moved her to action. Unable to sleep, she opened her laptop and typed Elon Musk into Google. The search results were overwhelming. Elon Musk net worth reaches $210 billion. SpaceX successfully lands Starship booster. Tesla delivers 2 million electric vehicles in 2023. Musk's Neuralink receives FDA approval for human trials. But she scrolled past the business headlines until she found what she was looking for: articles about Elon's childhood and his relationship with his father. Elon Musk opens up about difficult childhood in South Africa. Musk describes father as terrible human being in Rolling Stone interview. The complicated relationship between Elon and Errol Musk. She read about Elon escaping to Canada at 17 with almost no money. She read about how he'd worked odd jobs and eaten from food banks to survive. She read about him building companies worth billions while his father criticized him publicly, telling journalists that Elon's accomplishments weren't that impressive. She read about Errol's controversial personal choices, decisions that had deeply hurt Elon and scandalized their family. Sister Thandiwe closed her laptop and rubbed her tired eyes. What kind of father wounds his own son so deeply? What could such a man possibly wish for in his final days? Forgiveness, reconciliation, or something else entirely? Room 847, Mediclinic Sandton 5:47 As dawn broke over Johannesburg, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Elon Musk's eyes fluttered open. The room was quiet except for the steady beeping of heart monitors and the soft hiss of oxygen flowing through tubes in his nose. His left side was paralyzed from the stroke. His speech was slurred and difficult. But his mind, his brilliant, complicated, tormented mind, was perfectly clear. Sister Thandiwe was checking his IV when she noticed he was awake. "Good morning, Mr. Musk," she said gently. "How are you feeling?" Errol's lips moved, forming words slowly and carefully. "Did you call him?" "Yes, I called your son." "Elon?" Hope flickered in his eyes, a desperate, fragile hope. "Yes, Elon. I told him you had something important to tell him. I told him about your wish." A single tear rolled down Errol's weathered cheek. His right hand, the one that still worked, reached out and gripped Sister Thandiwe's wrist with surprising strength. "Did you tell him?" Errol's voice cracked with emotion. "Did you tell him I need to show him something before I die?" "Yes, I told him." "And is he coming?" Sister Thandiwe hesitated. She didn't know. Elon hadn't made any promises during their brief call, but before she could answer, Errol's grip tightened. His eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Sister Thandiwe, you don't understand. What I need to show Elon, it's not just important, it's everything. It's the truth he's never known. The truth I was too broken, too proud, too foolish to tell him for 48 years. His voice dropped to a whisper, raw with desperation. If I die before he sees it, before he knows, then I've failed at the only thing that ever truly mattered. Boca Chica, Texas, SpaceX Starbase, March 16, 2024, 7:15 a.m. Elon hadn't slept. He'd left his office in Hawthorne at 3 a.m. and taken his private jet to South Texas, where the massive Starship prototype stood like steel giants against the dawn sky. The Gulf of Mexico stretched endlessly to the east, waves catching the first light of morning. He stood on the launch pad, staring up at Ship 29 mounted atop Booster 11. Engineers in orange safety vests moved around the base, running final checks for the upcoming test flight. The rocket towered 397 feet above him, humanity's ticket to Mars if they could make it work. His phone buzzed. "Kimball," Elon answered. "Hey. Did you hear about Dad?" His brother's voice was thick with emotion. "A nurse called me last night." "Are you going?" Kimball asked the question Elon had been avoiding for 8 hours. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the sound of wind whipping across the launch site. "Elon." "I don't know," Elon admitted quietly. "He's dying. The doctors say 2 weeks, maybe less." "I know what the doctors said." "Then what's the problem?" Kimball's frustration bled through the phone. "I know he's made terrible choices. I know he's hurt you, hurt all of us, but he's still our father, and he's dying." Elon closed his eyes. Images flashed through his mind. His father's criticism, the public comments undermining his achievements, the personal choices that embarrassed their family, the emotional distance that made childhood feel like exile. But other images came too. His father teaching him physics in that workshop, explaining how engines worked, showing him the beauty of engineering, passing down the relentless drive that now defined Elon's life. "It's complicated," Elon said. "Everything with Dad is complicated, but this is simple. Do you want him to die thinking you hate him?" Elon opened his eyes and stared at the rocket. "I have 10 children now, Kimball. X, Exa, Techno, Saxon, Griffin, Kai, Damien, and the 3 with Shivon. You know what I've learned?" "What?" "That being a parent is impossible. That you fail no matter how hard you try. Vivian won't even speak to me anymore. Changed her last name to distance herself from me. So who am I to judge Dad for failing?" Kimball was quiet for a moment. "Then go see him. Not because he deserves it, but because you deserve closure." After they hung up, Elon pulled out his tablet and opened his calendar. His assistant had sent the updated schedule. March 18, 2024. Tesla Q1 earnings call critical, investors expecting delivery numbers. March 19, 2024. Starship Flight 4 launch window, NASA is watching. Artemis program depends on this. March 22, 2024. Neuralink human trial results presentation. FDA officials attending. March 23, 2024. White House meeting, AI safety discussion with President, national security implications. Going to South Africa meant a 17-hour flight each way. It meant missing everything. Missing earnings calls that moved Tesla's stock price. Missing the launch that could make or break their Mars timeline. Missing meetings that affected thousands of employees and billions in market value. It meant flying halfway around the world to see a man who had publicly called his life's work not that impressive. A man who had hurt him in ways that still ached decades later. A man who was dying. Elon's phone buzzed again, a message from his assistant. Reuters is reporting that China's BYD will overtake Tesla in global EV sales by Q2. Board wants emergency strategy session. When are you available? He stared at the message, then looked back at the rocket. Since he was a boy, Elon had believed that humanity's survival depended on becoming a multiplanetary species. Every decision he made, every company he built, every sleepless night, it all served that mission. Earth was too fragile. One asteroid, one pandemic, one nuclear war, and everything humanity had ever created could vanish. Mars was the backup drive for human civilization. But what good was saving humanity if you couldn't save your relationship with your own father? Another message appeared, this time from Sister Tandu. Mr. Musk, your father's condition is deteriorating faster than expected. He had another small stroke this morning. The doctors aren't sure he'll last another 48 hours. He keeps asking if you're coming. He keeps saying, I need to show him. He has to see it before I go. Please, Mr. Musk, I know this is difficult, but I think you'll regret it if you don't come. Elon looked down at his hands, the same hands that had coded software at age 12, that had built PayPal, that had signed contracts worth billions, that had held each of his 10 children when they were born. The same hands his father had taught to build things. He thought about what Errol had said through the nurse. Something I should have said 50 years ago. What could it be? An apology, an explanation, some deathbed confession? Or was it just manipulation, one final way for his father to pull him back into orbit to remind Elon that despite everything he'd accomplished, Errol could still make him feel small? Elon pulled out his phone and opened a new message to his pilot. His thumbs hovered over the keyboard. Tesla needed him. SpaceX needed him. Neuralink needed him. The world he'd built needed him. But maybe, just maybe, his father needed him more. And maybe in some broken way he didn't fully understand yet, Elon needed his father too. He started typing. Prep the Gulfstream. File flight plan to Johannesburg. We leave tonight. His thumb hovered over the send button. Everything in him screamed that this was a mistake, that he was abandoning his responsibilities, that his father didn't deserve this. But he thought about Sister Tandio's words. I think you'll regret it if you don't come. Regret? He'd lived with enough regret already. Elon pressed send. Then he called his assistant. Cancel everything for the next week. Tell the board I'm handling a family emergency. Tell NASA the launch might be delayed. Tell the president's office I'll reschedule. Everything? His assistant sounded shocked. Mr. Musk, the earnings call. Everything? Elon repeated firmly. I'm going to South Africa. He ended the call and stood alone on the launch pad, watching the sun climb higher over the Gulf of Mexico. The rocket stood silent behind him, waiting. Mars could wait a few more days. His father couldn't. 39,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean, March 16, 2024, 11:47 p.m. The Gulfstream G650ER cut through the night sky at 516 miles per hour, its twin Rolls-Royce engines humming steadily. Inside the cabin, Elon sat in a cream leather seat, bathed in the soft glow of his laptop screen. He'd been trying to work for 6 hours. The spreadsheets and engineering documents blurred together. His mind refused to focus. 17 hours. That's how long the flight from Texas to Johannesburg would take. 17 hours suspended between two worlds. The world he'd built through sheer will and genius, and the world he'd escaped from at 17 years old. Elon closed his laptop and walked to the back of the cabin. The jet's interior was sleek and minimalist. White walls, dark wood accents, seats that converted to beds. But tonight, none of it brought comfort. He poured himself a glass of water from the galley and stared out the window. Below, the Atlantic Ocean stretched endlessly, invisible in the darkness except where moonlight caught the waves. His phone showed limited satellite connectivity, but a message from Sister Tandio had come through an hour ago. Your father is asking about you every time he wakes. I told him you're coming. He cried, Mr. Musk. I've never seen a grown man cry like that. Whatever is between you two, he loves you. I can see it in his eyes. Elon deleted the message without responding. Love. That word felt foreign when applied to his father. Memory, Johannesburg, South Africa, December 2000. 29-year-old Elon lay in a hospital bed at Santon Clinic, the same hospital where his father now fought for his life. He contracted cerebral malaria during a vacation to South Africa, nearly died from it. His temperature had spiked to 105 degrees. The doctors said another day without treatment might have killed him. Errol had visited, once, briefly. He'd stood at the foot of the bed, arms crossed, and said, "You should have taken anti-malarial medication. I told you that before you went on safari." "I know, Dad, I forgot." Forgetting things gets you killed, Elon. You need to be smarter than that. Then Errol had left. No hug, no I'm glad you're alive. No, I was worried about you. Just criticism. Even death couldn't soften his father's edges. Memory, Hawthorne, California, September 2008. Darkest year of Elon's life. Tesla was 3 months from bankruptcy. SpaceX had suffered 3 failed launches in a row, $90 million burned up in explosions and crashed rockets. He'd invested everything he had from the PayPal sale, everything. He was sleeping on the Tesla factory floor in Fremont, too broke and too busy to rent an apartment. His marriage was falling apart. His employees wondered if they'd have jobs next month. One night, exhausted and desperate, he'd called his father. "Dad, things are difficult right now, really difficult." "I told you electric cars were a stupid idea," Errol had said. "And rockets, Elon, you're throwing money away. This is reckless. I just need." "What money? I don't have that kind of money to waste on your failing ventures." "I wasn't asking for money, I just needed to talk to someone." "Talk to your investors, talk to your board. I can't help you with this." Elon had hung up and stared at the factory ceiling, feeling more alone than ever. 2 weeks later, SpaceX's fourth Falcon 1 launch succeeded. NASA awarded them a $16 billion contract. Tesla secured emergency funding. The companies survived. But Elon never forgot that his father hadn't been there when he needed him most. The Gulf Stream, present 2:33 a.m. Elon returned to his seat and opened his phone's photo gallery. He scrolled through pictures of his children, Xae Aza making funny faces, the twins Griffin and Vivian at their 10th birthday party, before Vivian stopped speaking to him, Saxon and Kai playing with robots he'd built them, Damien's first day of school, his 3 children with Shivanzilis, their bright eyes staring at the camera with innocent curiosity. 10 children, 10 human beings who would remember him after he was gone. 10 people whose childhoods would be shaped by his choices, his presence, his love, or his absence. What would they remember about him? Would they remember bedtime stories and rocket launches? Or would they remember a father who was always working, always traveling, always chasing the next impossible dream? Would they feel loved? Or would they feel the same hollow ache he'd felt watching his father read the newspaper while he held a floppy disk containing 3 months of work? Elon's hands trembled slightly as he held the phone. For the first time in decades, he understood something about his father. Elon Musk was just a broken person trying to raise children while carrying his own wounds. That didn't excuse the pain, didn't erase the criticism, didn't justify the choices Elon had made, but it made him human. And humans failed, even the smartest ones, even the ones who understood physics and engineering, because parenting wasn't physics. There was no equation for love, no blueprint for raising children, just broken people doing their best or their worst with the tools they had. 3:15 a.m. Message from Sister Tandu. The satellite connection flickered to life, and a new message appeared. "Mr. Musk, I'm sorry to send this, but your father's condition has worsened. He had another episode 30 minutes ago. The doctors are stabilizing him now, but they don't think he'll make it more than 24 hours. I'm so sorry, please hurry. He keeps whispering your name. He keeps saying, Elon needs to see it. He needs to know before I go." Elon's chest tightened. He walked to the cockpit and knocked on the door. His pilot, James, opened it. "Yes, sir." "How fast can this plane go?" "We're already at maximum cruise speed, Mach 085. We're doing everything we can." "Can we go faster?" James hesitated. "Technically, yes, but it would burn fuel faster, reduce our range, void some warranties." "I don't care about warranties. I care about getting there. Push it to Mach 090. Do whatever you need to do." "Yes, sir." The engine's pitch changed slightly as the jet accelerated. Elon returned to his seat and buckled in. Outside the window, the sky was beginning to lighten, dawn approaching somewhere over the African continent. He was flying toward the sunrise, racing against time and death. Flying home to a father he'd spent decades trying to escape. Flying toward one final conversation that might heal 4 decades of wounds, or might break him completely. 5:47 a.m. South African time, approaching OR Tambo International Airport. "Mr. Musk, we're beginning our descent into Johannesburg," the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Local time is 5:47 a.m. We'll be on the ground in 20 minutes. Elon pressed his face against the window. The sun was rising over South Africa, painting the high veld in gold and amber. He could see the sprawling city below, Johannesburg, the place where his father had built his engineering business, where the Musk family name meant something before Elon made it mean something else entirely. His phone buzzed. Sister Tandu again. "Your father is awake. I told him you're landing soon." He smiled, Mr. Musk. "First time I've seen him smile since the stroke." He said, "Tell Elon to come straight to the hospital. Tell him not to waste time. Tell him I've waited 48 years to show him this. I can wait 2 more hours, but not much more than that." Elon closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Whatever his father needed to show him, whatever truth had been hidden for 48 years, he was about to learn it. The wheels touched down on African soil with a screech of rubber. Elon Musk had returned home, whether he was ready or not. OR Tambo International Airport, Johannesburg, March 17, 2024, 6:23 a.m. The Gulfstream taxied to the private aviation terminal as the South African sun climbed higher, flooding the tarmac with golden light. Elon grabbed his small duffel bag. He'd packed nothing but a change of clothes and his phone charger. This wasn't a vacation. This was a mission. A black Mercedes SUV waited on the tarmac, engine running. Elon's security team had arranged everything. "Mediclinic Santon," Elon told the driver as he climbed in. "Fast as you can." The driver nodded and pulled away from the terminal. They merged onto the R24 highway heading toward Johannesburg's northern suburbs. Traffic was light this early on a Sunday morning. Elon stared out the window at the landscape he'd left behind 35 years ago. Johannesburg had grown, new buildings, new highways, new money. But underneath the development, it was still the same city. The same jacaranda trees lining the streets. The same red soil. The same bright, harsh sunlight that made everything feel exposed. His phone buzzed. "Kimball, are you there?" "Just landed, heading to the hospital now. Tosca and I are flying in this afternoon. We'll be there by evening." His brother paused. "Elon, I'm proud of you for going." "Don't be proud yet. I haven't done anything." "Yes, you have. You showed up. That's more than Dad deserved and more than I expected from you." After they hung up, another message appeared. "Sister Tandu, your father knows you've landed. His vitals are actually improving, heart rate stronger, blood pressure stabilized. The doctors are surprised. It's like he's holding on through sheer will. Room 847, 8th floor. I'll meet you in the lobby." The SUV turned onto Rivonia Road, passing luxury car dealerships and upscale shopping centers. This was Santon, Johannesburg's wealthiest suburb where his father had lived for the past decade after selling his engineering business. 10 minutes later, they pulled up to Mediclinic Santon, a modern glass and steel structure that looked more like a 5-star hotel than a hospital. Elon stepped out, wearing a simple black hoodie and jeans. No security detail, no entourage. Just him and a duffel bag. He walked through the automatic doors into the lobby, marble floors, contemporary art on the walls, soft classical music playing. A few people glanced at him, recognition flickering in their eyes, but no one approached. "Mr. Musk." He turned. A woman in blue nursing scrubs stood nearby. She was in her early 50s with kind brown eyes, gray-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun, and smile lines around her mouth. Her name tag read, "SR T Mbele RN. "Sister Tandu," Elon said. "Yes, thank you for coming, Mr. Musk. I wasn't sure you would." Her voice was warm, genuine, the same voice that had called him 2 days ago. "I almost didn't," Elon admitted honestly. She nodded as if she understood everything he wasn't saying. "Come, let's go upstairs, but first I need to prepare you." They walked to a quiet corner of the lobby near a window overlooking a garden courtyard. Sister Tandu turned to face him, her expression serious. "Your father is weak. The stroke affected his left side. He can't move his left arm or leg. His speech is slow and sometimes slurred, but his mind is completely clear. He knows who he is, where he is, and why you're here." "How bad is he really?" Elon asked. "The doctors give him a week at most, maybe less. His body is shutting down, but Mr. Musk," she paused, choosing her words carefully. "In my 29 years as a nurse, I've learned that the body follows the heart. Your father's body wants to give up, but his heart won't let him. Not until he tells you whatever he needs to tell you." Elon's jaw tightened. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you do this? You're a nurse. You must see dying patients all the time. Why did you call me? Why did you push so hard to get me here?" Sister Tandu's eyes grew distant, remembering. Because 3 years ago, my own father died. We'd had a terrible fight 5 years before that over money, over family land, over old wounds. I was too proud to call him, too angry to forgive him. And then one day, I got a call from a hospital telling me he'd passed away in the night. Her voice caught slightly. I never got to say goodbye, never got to hear what he wanted to tell me. A nurse later told me that my father's last words were, "Tell Tandy I'm sorry. Tell her I love her." She looked directly at Elon. I don't want anyone else to carry that regret. So when your father begged me to call you, when he cried and said he needed to show you something before he died, I couldn't say no. Maybe I was helping him, or maybe I was helping me heal from my own mistake. Elon felt something shift in his chest. I'm sorry about your father. Thank you, now come. Let's not waste any more time. They walked to the elevators and rode up to the 8th floor in silence. The doors opened onto a quiet corridor with pale blue walls and warm lighting designed to feel less institutional. Sister Tandy led him down the hallway, past rooms where other families dealt with their own crises. They reached room 847. Through the window, Elon could see his father. Elon Musk lay in the hospital bed, thinner than Elon remembered. His once strong body looked frail under the white sheets. Oxygen tubes ran to his nose. An IV drip fed into his right arm. Heart monitors beeped steadily, tracking each fragile beat. But his eyes were open, alert, waiting. Elon's hand rested on the door handle. His heart pounded in his chest, the same feeling he got seconds before a rocket launch when everything was committed and there was no turning back. Before you go in, Sister Tandy said softly, he asked me not to tell your siblings you were coming. He said this moment needed to be just you and him. Private. Whatever he's going to show you, whatever he's going to tell you, it's only for you. Did he tell you what it is? She shook her head. He said you'd understand when you saw it. He also said, she hesitated, what? He said, tell Elon this is the most important thing I've ever done. More important than any engineering project I built. More important than any business I ran. More important than anything in my 78 years on this planet. Elon's hand trembled slightly on the door handle. What could be more important than everything? What had his father created, discovered, or hidden that carried such weight? Sister Tandy placed her hand gently on Elon's shoulder. Whatever happens in that room, Mr. Musk, remember this. You came. You showed up. You gave him this chance. That's more grace than most people show their worst enemies, let alone their fathers. Elon nodded, unable to speak. He took a deep breath, pushed down the door handle, and stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind him. Elon Musk's head turned toward the sound. His eyes, the same intense eyes that had studied engineering schematics and criticized childhood achievements, locked onto his son. For a moment, neither man spoke. 48 years of pain, pride, and complicated love filled the space between them. Then Elon's cracked lips moved, forming a single word that came out barely above a whisper. Finally, tears began streaming down the old man's weathered face. And despite everything, despite the anger, the hurt, the decades of distance, Elon felt his own eyes burning with tears he'd sworn he'd never cry for this man. Hello, Dad, Elon said quietly, his voice thick with emotion he couldn't hide. You came, Elon whispered, his voice breaking. My son came home. Elon stood frozen just inside the door, his duffel bag still hanging from his shoulder. The room smelled of antiseptic and illness, that distinct hospital smell of bodies breaking down despite medicine's best efforts. Hello, Dad, he said again, because he couldn't think of anything else to say. Elon lifted his right hand, the one that still worked, and gestured weakly toward the chair beside the bed. Sit, please. Elon crossed the room slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. He dropped his bag on the floor and lowered himself into the vinyl chair. Up close, his father looked even more fragile. The stroke had stolen the vitality that had always defined Elon Musk, the sharp engineer, the strong-willed patriarch, the man who never showed weakness. Now he looked like what he was, a 78-year-old man dying in a hospital bed. You look tired, Elon said, his words slightly slurred but understandable. Long flight. 17 hours. Elon's voice was guarded. The nurse said you had a wish, one wish. Elon's eyes glistened with fresh tears. Not a wish exactly. Something to show you, something I should have shown you 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when you were a boy. What is it? In that drawer. Errol nodded toward the bedside table with his chin, unable to point with his paralyzed left arm. Blue notebook, get it? Elon hesitated, then opened the drawer. Inside, among the standard hospital items, tissues, lotion, a small Bible, sat a leather-bound notebook. The leather was cracked and faded, worn smooth by decades of handling. It looked ancient, like something from a museum. He pulled it out carefully. It was heavier than expected, thick with pages. Open it, Errol whispered. Elon opened the cover. The first page was yellowed with age, the ink slightly faded but still legible. At the top, written in his father's distinctive handwriting, was a date. June 28, 1971. Elon's breath caught. This is the day you were born, Errol finished. Keep reading. Elon's eyes moved to the entry below the date. My son was born today at 7:30 a.m. at Pretoria General Hospital. 32 kilograms, healthy, strong lungs. He announced his arrival to the entire ward. May is exhausted but radiant. We named him Elon Musk. I held him for the first time an hour ago. He looked at me with such intelligent eyes, dark, curious, alert. Most newborns just sleep, but Elon studied my face like he was memorizing it, like he was already trying to understand the world. I saw something in him, something extraordinary, something that frightened me. What have I created? What will this child become? Elon's hands began to tremble. His father had written this the day he was born, had kept it all these years. Keep reading, Errol urged, his voice thick with emotion. Don't stop, please. Elon turned the page. More entries organized by date. August 15, 1973. Elon is 2 years old. Today he asked me why 17 times. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Why does water come out when we turn the tap? I tried to answer each question seriously, and he listened with such focus. He's not just curious, he's hungry for knowledge. March 12, 1976. Elon is 4. He's teaching himself to read, teaching himself. We didn't show him. He just started recognizing words and sounding them out. Yesterday, I found him reading an encyclopedia article about electricity. He's 4 years old. November 3, 1979. Elon is 8. Today I found him in my workshop taking apart a radio to see how it worked. He put it back together. It still works. He understood circuits and connections intuitively. I showed him some basic electrical principles and he grasped them immediately. I should have praised him more. I should have told him how brilliant he is. But I'm afraid that if I praise him too much, he'll become arrogant. Afraid that if I show him how proud I am, he'll stop pushing himself. Afraid that I'll somehow ruin this genius I've been given to raise. March 12, 1981. Elon is teaching himself to code. He's 9 years old. 9. Today he asked me to buy him a computer manual. It's for adults, complex programming concepts, but he studied it for 6 hours straight. What have I created? Elon's eyes were filling with tears now. He tried to blink them away, but they came faster. Dad, what is this? The truth, Errol said simply. The truth I was too broken to tell you when it mattered. Keep reading, please. April 3, 1984. Elon programmed a video game called Blastar. He's 12. The code is sophisticated, 500 lines of assembly language that would challenge most adult programmers. It's remarkable, it's brilliant. He showed it to me today, so excited, so proud, and I barely looked at it. I told him it was nice and sent him outside. Why? Because I'm terrified. He's already smarter than me at 12 years old. How do I parent a child who's intellectually surpassing me? What wisdom can I offer when he's already figured out things I never understood? So I push him away. I criticize. I keep him at arm's length. Because if I get too close, he'll see that I'm not the genius father he thinks I am. He'll see I'm just a mediocre engineer who got lucky. I'm a coward. December 1989. Elon chose to live with me after the divorce. I should be happy. Instead, I'm terrified. May was always the warm one, the nurturing one. I'm just broken gears and sharp edges. How do I raise a genius without destroying him? But I can't tell him to stay with his mother. That would mean admitting I can't handle him. That would mean admitting I'm failing. So I let him stay, knowing I'll probably hurt him, knowing I'm not enough. June 1992. Elon was bullied again at Bryanston High School. Today they threw him down the concrete stairs. He's in Santon Clinic, the same hospital where I'm writing this now, 22 years later with a broken nose and cracked ribs. I wanted to kill those boys. I wanted to burn down that school. But when I visited Elon in his hospital room, all he asked for was his physics textbook. He said, "Dad, one day I'll be on Mars and they'll still be in Pretoria." He was right. He's always right. And I'm always wrong about how to love him. The entries continued, page after page, year after year. Elon's hands shook so badly now that he could barely hold the notebook. February 1995, Elon is leaving for Canada today. He's 17, he thinks I don't care, he thinks I'm relieved he's going. The truth, I'm heartbroken, but I'm also relieved, not because I don't love him, but because here in South Africa, I'm just a shadow he has to step over to reach the light. In Canada, in America, he can become who he's meant to be without my failures holding him back. I'm letting him go because I love him, but he'll never know that. He'll think I didn't care enough to make him stay. Elon couldn't see the pages anymore through his tears. His entire body was shaking. "Keep going," Errol whispered. "The hardest ones are near the end." Elon wiped his eyes with the back of his hand and turned to the next entries. His father's handwriting grew shakier as the years progressed, but the words remained clear. May 2002, Elon sold PayPal today. $180 million. The newspapers are calling him a genius entrepreneur. He's 30 years old and wealthy beyond measure. A journalist called me for a comment. I told him, well, it's not that impressive. I mean, he had a lot of help. Why did I say that? Why do I always diminish his accomplishments? Because I'm a bitter old man who achieved nothing compared to my son. Because every article about Elon is a mirror showing me my own mediocrity. Because praising him publicly would mean admitting that he succeeded despite me, not because of me. I hate myself for saying it, but I said it anyway. September 2008, Elon is on the verge of losing everything. Tesla is failing. SpaceX has had 3 rocket explosions. He's invested every penny from PayPal. The media is calling him reckless, delusional. He called me 2 nights ago. I could hear the exhaustion in his voice, the fear. He didn't ask for money. He just wanted to talk. Wanted someone to tell him he wasn't crazy for believing in electric cars and reusable rockets. I told him both companies were stupid ideas. I told him he was being reckless. I should have said, "Son, you're the bravest person I know. You're risking everything to build the future. I'm proud of you." But I didn't, because I'm a coward who tears down instead of building up. 3 weeks later, SpaceX's 4th launch succeeded. NASA gave him a contract. Tesla survived. He didn't call to tell me. Why would he? I'd already proven I wouldn't be there when he needed me. Elon's tears fell onto the pages, smudging the old ink. He didn't bother wiping them away anymore. December 2010, Elon's son, Nevada Alexander, died. SIDS, 10 weeks old. I read about it online. My grandson died and I read about it online because Elon and I barely speak anymore. I should have flown to California. Should have held my son while he grieved. Should have been the father he needed. Instead, I sent a brief email of condolences. Like he was a business acquaintance, not my son. What kind of father am I? March 2015. Elon gave an interview to Rolling Stone. They asked about me. He said I was a terrible human being and that I'd done almost every evil thing you could possibly think of. The article went viral. Everyone knows now what kind of father I am. And he's right. He's absolutely right. I have been terrible. I have made choices that hurt him, hurt our family, hurt everyone around me. I wanted to call him and apologize, but what do you say? Sorry, I'm evil. Sorry, I destroyed your childhood. So I said nothing, and the distance between us grew wider. June 2018, Elon had another son, then twins, then triplets. He's had 6 children in recent years, trying to build the family he never had. I've met some of them briefly, awkwardly, like a stranger at a family gathering. I watch videos of Elon with his children. He's not perfect, he works too much, travels constantly, but I see him trying. I see him laughing with them, teaching them, being present in the ways I never was. He's breaking the cycle. He's being the father I should have been, and I'm so proud I could burst, but he'll never hear me say it. September 2022, Elon bought Twitter for $44 billion. The media is crucifying him. Politicians attack him. Former allies turn against him. The pressure must be immense. I was interviewed by an Australian radio station. They asked if I was proud of my son. I said, Well, he's my son, but we're not that close. He's very busy. That's what I said. Not yes, I'm incredibly proud. Not he's changing the world. Just dismissive comments that made it sound like I don't care. The truth is I think about him every single day. Every article, every launch, every achievement, I read about them all. I follow his companies obsessively. I watch interviews with him looking for glimpses of the boy I raised, but I can't tell him that. The gap between us is too wide now. Built by my own hands, one cruel comment at a time. Elon couldn't breathe properly. His chest felt tight like his heart was being crushed. He turned to the final pages where the handwriting became even more unsteady. January 2024, I'm 78 years old. My health is failing. The doctors have found problems with my heart, my kidneys. I probably don't have much time left. I've lived a long life filled with mistakes. I've hurt everyone I loved, especially Elon. I keep thinking about what I'll say when I die. What words would I want to leave behind? And I realized I've been writing them all along. In this journal, 48 years of truth that I was too broken, too proud, too damaged to say out loud. 12/2024, it's Elon's birthday. He's 53 today. I haven't spoken to him in almost 2 years. Tomorrow, I'm going to call him. I'm going to finally say what I should have said when he was 8 years old holding that floppy disk with his video game. What I should have said when he sold PayPal. When SpaceX landed its first rocket. When Tesla became the most valuable car company in the world. I'm going to tell him, Elon, you are the best thing I ever created. Not my engineering projects, not my businesses. You are brilliant, you are brave. You are changing the world in ways I only dreamed about. And I'm sorry. Sorry I was too damaged to show you that you were loved. Sorry I criticized instead of praised. Sorry I kept this truth hidden in a notebook instead of speaking it to your face. I'm calling him tomorrow. I promise myself. Tomorrow I'll finally tell him the truth. The next entry was written in barely legible scrawl. March 12, 2024, later that same day, I had a stroke before I could call. I'm in the hospital now. Left side paralyzed. I can barely write this. But I made Sister Tandio promise to call Elon. Made her promise to tell him I have one wish. To show him this journal. To tell him the truth I've kept hidden for 48 years. If I die before he sees this, I've failed at the only thing that ever truly mattered. Telling my son that he was loved. Always loved. That was the final entry. The rest of the pages were blank, years of future words that would never be written. Elon closed the journal slowly. His hands shook so badly he nearly dropped it. Tears streamed down his face openly now. He made no attempt to hide them. He looked up at his father lying in the hospital bed. Errol was crying too, his weathered face wet with tears. I've been proud of you every single day of your life, he whispered, his voice breaking. Every single day. I was just too damaged, too broken, too scared to show it. The machines beeped steadily in the background. My one wish, Elon, is for you to know that you were loved, that you are loved, that every cruel word, every dismissive comment, every moment of distance, none of it was because you weren't enough. It was because I wasn't enough. Errol reached out his trembling right hand. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I needed you to know the truth before I die. I needed you to see this journal. To understand that I've been watching you, cheering for you, loving you, even when I couldn't say it. Elon sat frozen, the journal in his lap, 48 years of hidden love weighing heavy in his hands. His father, the man who'd caused him so much pain, had been documenting every moment of pride, every flash of love, every regret for words left unspoken. All of it hidden in a blue leather notebook, all of it waiting for this moment. The hospital room fell silent except for the rhythmic beeping of monitors and the soft hiss of oxygen flowing through tubes. Morning light streamed through the window, illuminating dust particles floating in the air like tiny stars. Elon sat motionless, the leather journal heavy in his lap. His mind reeled, trying to reconcile 48 years of perceived indifference with 48 years of hidden documentation. Every dismissive comment, every public criticism, every moment of distance, they'd all been lies covering a truth his father couldn't speak. You kept a journal. About me? Elon's voice came out hoarse, broken. For 48 years. Errol nodded weakly, his right hand still extended across the white hospital sheets. About all my children, but yours. I wrote in yours almost every day. Every article about SpaceX, every Tesla announcement, every interview. I watched everything, Elon. I was always watching. Then why? The word exploded from Elon's chest like a rocket engine igniting. Why did you say those things? Why did you tell reporters my accomplishments weren't impressive? Why did you make choices that hurt our family? Why did you push me away when all I wanted was for you to be proud? His voice cracked on the last word. Errol's tears fell faster now, soaking into his hospital gown. Because I'm a fool, because I was jealous of my own son, because watching you become everything I wasn't, it reminded me every day of my own failures. His words came slowly, each one an effort. I couldn't celebrate your success without facing my mediocrity. I couldn't praise you publicly without admitting that you succeeded despite me, not because of me. So you hurt me instead. Yes, Errol's voice broke completely. I hurt you because I was hurting. I diminished you because I felt diminished. I kept you at arm's length because if you got too close, you'd see the truth, that I was just a broken man pretending to be strong. The machines beeped steadily, marking time neither of them had to waste. I don't expect forgiveness, Elon. I don't deserve it. I just needed you to know that my proudest accomplishment isn't anything I built with my hands. It's being your father. It's watching you grow from that curious 8-year-old taking apart radios into a man who's literally reaching for the stars. Errol's extended hand trembled in the air between them. You asked what my one wish was. It wasn't forgiveness. It was just truth. I wanted you to know you were loved before I die. That's all, just truth. Elon stared at his father's outstretched hand. He thought about his own 10 children scattered across the world. He thought about Vivian, who changed her last name to distance herself from him. He thought about all the times he'd been too busy for bedtime stories, too focused on Mars to notice a scraped knee, too obsessed with saving humanity to properly save his relationships with the humans he'd created. He thought about the journal entries. What kind of father am I? He finally understood. His father wasn't a villain, he was just broken. A damaged person who damaged others while genuinely trying to love them, like most parents, like Elon himself. Sister Tandy watched silently from the doorway, her hand pressed against her mouth. Then Elon did something unexpected, something beautiful. He carefully set the journal on the bedside table. He stood up from the chair, and without a word he climbed onto the hospital bed beside his dying father. The 53-year-old man who'd built electric cars and reusable rockets, who employed thousands of people, who dreamed of Mars colonies and neural interfaces, who changed the course of human history. He lay down on the narrow hospital bed next to his 78-year-old father like he'd done as a small boy during thunderstorms in Pretoria. "Dad," Elon whispered, wrapping his arm carefully around Errol's frail shoulders. "You wanted to know my response to your wish." "What?" Errol breathed, shocked by the physical closeness he hadn't experienced with his son in decades. "My response is this: thank you." Errol's eyes widened in confusion. "Thank you." "Yes, thank you." Elon pulled his father closer, feeling how thin he'd become, how fragile. "I spent 40 years thinking you didn't love me. 40 years thinking I wasn't good enough for you. 40 years trying to prove myself to a father who seemed impossible to impress. I'm so sorry." "No, listen, those 40 years, they made me who I am. Your distance made me relentless. Your criticism made me push harder. Your impossibly high standards made me never settle for good enough. You said you were broken gears and sharp edges." Elon's voice softened. "Dad, broken things can still build extraordinary things." Errol wept openly, his body shaking with sobs. "I forgive you," Elon said simply. "And more than that, I understand you now. Because I'm a father too, and I'm terrified every day that I'll mess up my kids, that I'll work too much or say the wrong thing or be absent when they need me, that they'll write journals about how I failed them." He paused, his own tears falling onto the pillow they now shared. "But maybe you didn't mess me up. Maybe you just loved me the only way you knew how. Broken love is still love, Dad. And this journal," Elon glanced at the blue leather notebook, "this journal proves you loved me. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not the way I needed, but you loved me." "I did," Errol whispered. "I do, every day, every single day." "I know that now, and I need you to know something too." Elon tightened his embrace. "I love you too, I always did. Even when I told reporters you were terrible, even when I didn't call for 2 years, even when I hated you, I loved you, because you're my father, and nothing changes that. Not time, not pain, not even Mars." Sister Tandio stepped into the room, checking the monitors through her tears. "Mr. Musk, your father's vitals are improving. His heart rate is stronger, more stable. Blood pressure is better than it's been in days. It's unusual." Errol squeezed Elon's hand with what little strength remained in his right arm. "Because I can die in peace now. I got my wish, better than my wish. I got forgiveness I didn't deserve. I got to hold my son one more time." "You're not dying today, old man," Elon said firmly, pulling back to look his father in the eyes. "I've got too many questions about your engineering projects, and I want you to meet my youngest kids properly. The 3 with Shivan, you've barely spent time with them. And maybe we can start over. Not forget the past, but build something new with the time you have left." "You'd want that after everything." "Yes, because hate is heavy, Dad. I've carried it too long, and life's too short. You're dying, and I'm not going to let you die thinking I hate you." Elon Musk wept like a child, his thin body trembling against his son's embrace. "I don't deserve this, Elon. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve this kindness." "Maybe not," Elon said quietly, "but I'm giving it anyway. Do you know why?" "Why?" "Because carrying anger is like carrying a rocket that will never launch. It's just dead weight. And I've spent my whole life trying to escape gravity. Literal gravity, emotional gravity, the gravity of the past. I'm tired, Dad. I'm tired of being angry at you." Elon wiped his father's tears with a tissue from the bedside table, the same way he wiped his children's tears when they fell and scraped their knees. "Besides," Elon continued, his voice softer now, "I learned something from having 10 children. Being a parent is the hardest engineering problem in existence. There's no manual, no blueprint, no test flight. You just launch and hope you don't explode." A weak laugh escaped Errol's lips despite his tears. That's a terrible metaphor." "It's accurate though," Elon smiled sadly. "We all fail our kids somehow, no matter how hard we try. The question isn't whether we fail, it's whether we love them anyway. And Dad, this journal proves you loved me. Every page, every entry, 48 years of love you were too broken to speak out loud." Sister Tandu approached the bed cautiously. "I'm sorry to interrupt this moment, but Mr. Musk, your father's heart rate has stabilized at 72 beats per minute. His blood pressure is 125/80. Those are better numbers than we've seen in a week." She looked at both men lying together on the hospital bed, father and son, both crying, both healing. "The doctors said he had days left, maybe hours, but I've been a nurse long enough to know that the body listens to the heart. And right now, his heart is telling him to keep fighting." Errol squeezed Elon's hand weakly. "Because I have something to live for now. A second chance I never thought I'd get." Elon pulled back slightly, looking at his father's face. The same face he'd seen in mirrors his entire life, just older, more worn. "Then let's not waste it." He reached for his phone and opened his contacts. "I'm calling the best cardiac specialists I know. Dr. Rajesh Patel at Stanford, he's a genius with stroke recovery. Dr. Alina Volkov in Switzerland, she's pioneered new neural rehabilitation techniques. You're getting transferred to a better facility. You're getting every treatment available, and you're going to live long enough to see Starship land on Mars. Deal?" "Elon, I'm 78 years old. I don't care how old you are. I've built companies from nothing. I've landed rockets on drone ships in the middle of the ocean. I've made electric cars mainstream when everyone said it was impossible. If I can do all that, I can keep my father alive long enough to finish our conversation. We have 48 years of missed talks to catch up on." Errol laughed and cried at the same time. "You always were impossible to argue with. You get that from me, you know." "I know, I get a lot of things from you, the good and the bad." Elon paused. "But mostly good. The relentless drive, the engineering mind, the refusal to accept impossible as an answer. That's all you, Dad. You gave me the tools to build the future. You just didn't realize you'd done it." Elon stood up from the bed and walked to the bedside table. He opened the blue leather journal again, turning to the blank pages at the back. He pulled a pen from his hoodie pocket. "What are you doing?" Errol asked. "My turn to write." Elon began filling the empty page with his distinctive angular handwriting. March 17, 2024. "Dad, Today I flew 17 hours from Texas to South Africa to see my dying father. I thought I came here to say goodbye. I thought I came here out of obligation or guilt or some sense of duty. Instead, I learned that you loved me all along, that you were proud of me every single day, that you documented my entire life in this journal, every achievement, every failure, every moment, because you cared so deeply it hurt you. I learned that sometimes love looks like distance because people are too broken to show it properly. That criticism can be a mask for fear. That silence can hide the loudest love. You asked if I had a response to your wish. Here it is. I love you too, I always did. Even when I hated you, I loved you. Even when I told reporters you were terrible, there was still love underneath the anger, because you're my father. And nothing changes that. Not time, not pain, not even the distance to Mars. You said I was the best thing you ever created. But Dad, I couldn't have created anything without the foundation you gave me. The curiosity about how things work, the stubborn refusal to give up, the ability to see problems as puzzles waiting to be solved. Thank you for teaching me to build. Thank you for teaching me to question. Thank you for teaching me that thinking isn't enough, doing is everything. And thank you for writing this journal, for keeping the truth safe until I was ready to hear it. We have more time now. Not much, maybe, but enough. Enough to start over, enough to build something new from the broken pieces. Keep writing, Dad. Our story isn't over yet. Elon. He closed the journal carefully and placed it back in his father's trembling right hand. This is yours, but I want you to keep filling it. I want you to write about what happens next, about the doctors we'll see, the treatments you'll try, the grandchildren you'll finally get to know properly. Errol clutched the journal to his chest like it was the most precious thing in the world, because it was. It contained 48 years of truth that had nearly died with him. I'll keep writing, Errol promised, his voice stronger now. Every day, I promise. Good, Elon pulled out his phone again. Now let me call Kimball and Tosca. They're flying in this afternoon. They deserve to see you too. And Dad. Yes. No more secrets. No more hiding love in journals. From now on, we say what we feel when we feel it. Deal. Errol smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his weathered face. Deal. But Elon, can I say something I've wanted to say for 48 years? Of course. Errol looked directly into his son's eyes, tears streaming down his face, and spoke the words clearly despite his stroke-slurred speech. I am so incredibly proud of you. You are brilliant, brave, and extraordinary. You've accomplished things I couldn't even dream of. And being your father, even though I failed at it so badly, is the greatest honor of my life. Elon's breath caught in his throat. He'd waited his entire life to hear those words. Thank you, Dad, he whispered. That means more than you know. Sister Tandia wiped her own tears as she watched the scene unfold. She thought about the desperate phone call she made 3 days ago, unsure if Elon would even answer. She thought about Errol's terror that he'd die before his son knew the truth. And now she witnessed something she'd seen only rarely in 29 years of nursing: complete forgiveness, total reconciliation, love that conquered decades of pain. I'll give you both some privacy, she said softly, backing toward the door. But Mr. Musk, Elon, your siblings will be here in a few hours, and I think your father would like to rest a bit before then. Of course, thank you, Sister Tandia, for everything. You saved more than my father's life. You saved both of us. She smiled through her tears and quietly left the room. Father and son sat together in the morning light, the blue leather journal between them, no longer a secret but a bridge connecting 48 years of hidden love to whatever future remained. SpaceX Starbase, Boca Chica, Texas, September 14, 2024, 2:47 p.m. Elon Musk stood beside his son at the launch observation area, leaning slightly on a walking cane. 6 months of intensive physical therapy had given him back most of his mobility. His left hand still trembled occasionally, and he walked with a slight limp, but his eyes were bright and alert, alive with the curiosity that had defined him as a young engineer. The Texas sun blazed overhead as Starship sat on the launch pad, gleaming silver against the blue sky. Ship 31 mounted on Booster 13, the largest, most powerful rocket ever built by human hands. T-minus 5 minutes, the voice crackled over the loudspeakers. Around them, hundreds of SpaceX employees and special guests gathered behind safety barriers. Among them stood Sister Tandio Mbele, wearing a visitor's badge and a huge smile. Elon had flown her to Texas first class and put her up in a beachfront hotel for the week. Kimball and Tosca Musk stood nearby with their families. Elon's children were scattered throughout the crowd, some with their mothers, others with Shivan Zillies. Xaeaza, now 4 years old, sat on his grandfather's shoulders, pointing excitedly at the rocket. "Grandpa Errol, will it really go to space?" the little boy asked in his high-pitched voice. "Yes, my boy, all the way to space. Your father is sending humanity to the stars." Elon glanced at his father, noticing the pride in his voice, the same pride that had lived hidden in a journal for 48 years, now spoken freely. "Nervous?" Elon asked. "Terrified," Errol admitted with a smile. "But proud, so damn proud I could burst." "Dad, can I tell you something?" "Anything." "That journal you kept, I started keeping them too, one for each of my kids." Elon pulled out his phone and showed his father a photo, 10 leather-bound notebooks lined up on a shelf in his office, each embossed with a different child's name. Errol's eyes filled with tears. "You did." "Every day I write down what makes them special, what I hope for them, what they did that day, how much I love them. Because of you, they won't have to wait 48 years to know they matter. When they're old enough, I'll give them their journals. They'll know they were loved every single day of their lives." Errol's hand shook as he gripped his cane. Elon, that's the best thing you could have told me. You broke the cycle. You're being the father I should have been. I learned from your mistakes, but also from your strengths. The journal was both, Dad, a mistake to hide it so long, but a strength to keep it at all. Most parents don't document their love. You did. You just needed help showing it. T-2 minutes. The crowd's energy intensified. Phones came out. Children were lifted onto shoulders. Engineers who'd worked countless hours on this launch held their breath. Sister Tandio made her way over to them, her eyes wet with happy tears. "Mr. Musk, both of you, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. 6 months ago, I made a phone call I wasn't sure was right, and now look at you both." Elon embraced her warmly. "Sister Tandio, you didn't just save my father's life. You saved our relationship. You saved both of us from living with regret. I can never repay that." "You already have," she said, gesturing to the rocket. "You're reaching for the stars, you're building the future, and you're doing it with your father beside you. That's payment enough." T-60 seconds. The countdown began. The crowd joined in, their voices rising together. 60, 59, 58. Errol reached over and took Elon's hand. The same gesture he'd made in the hospital 6 months ago, but now both hands were steady, both men were standing, both were healthy enough to witness this moment together. "Elon, can I tell you my new wish?" Errol asked over the growing noise. "Of course, Dad." "It's not a wish anymore, it's a promise." Errol's voice was strong, clear. "I promise to spend whatever time I have left, whether it's 1 year or 20, showing you and your siblings and my grandchildren that you were loved, always loved. No more hiding it. No more journals that go unread. Just truth spoken out loud every single day." 30, 29, 28. Elon squeezed his father's hand. "That's all any of us can do, Dad. Just love the people we have while we have them." 2019-18. Xaeaza bounced excitedly on his grandfather's shoulders. "Here it comes, Grandpa. Here it comes." 10-9-8-7. Errol looked at his son, the boy who'd taken apart radios at 8 years old, who'd coded video games at 12, who'd escaped to Canada at 17, who'd built companies worth hundreds of billions, who dared to dream of Mars when everyone said it was impossible. 6-5-4-3. "You know what the beautifully unexpected part is?" Errol said, his voice barely audible over the countdown. "What?" Elon asked. 2, 1, ignition. The engines erupted, 33 Raptor engines firing simultaneously, producing 16 million pounds of thrust. The sound was overwhelming, a physical force that shook the ground and rattled bones. Flames and steam engulfed the launch pad. Starship began to rise, slowly at first, then faster, accelerating upward on a pillar of fire and thunder. The rocket climbed through the sky, leaving a white contrail against the blue. Errol shouted over the roar, tears streaming down his face. That you forgave me. That was never part of my wish. I just wanted you to know I loved you. I never expected forgiveness, but you gave it anyway. The rocket disappeared into the clouds, still accelerating, still climbing toward the edge of space. Elon watched it go, his arm around his father's shoulders, his other hand holding his 4-year-old son who bore his unusual name, a bridge between past and future. That's what love does, Dad, Elon said, his voice thick with emotion. It gives what isn't deserved. It builds bridges over impossible distances. It reaches for Mars even when the odds say it's impossible. It forgives even when forgiveness seems crazy. Because love isn't logical, it's not an equation, it's just a choice we make. The rocket became a bright star against the darkening sky, then vanished completely as it reached the edge of the atmosphere. The crowd erupted in cheers. Engineers hugged each other. Children jumped and screamed with excitement. Sister Tandy stood apart watching the Musk family, 3 generations standing together, united, healed. She thought about her own father, the one she'd never gotten to forgive. She thought about the phone call she'd made 6 months ago, terrified she was overstepping. She thought about how close Elon and Errol had come to losing each other forever, and she thanked God she'd been brave enough to dial that number. 2 hours later, SpaceX control room. Starship had successfully reached orbit, deployed its payload, and was preparing for re-entry. The control room buzzed with controlled energy as engineers monitored data streams. Elon sat at a console, Errol beside him in a rolling chair. On the main screen, telemetry showed Starship beginning its descent. Dad, watch this, Elon said. This is the part that took us 20 test flights to perfect, the flip maneuver. On screen, Starship rotated in space, positioning itself for re-entry. Its heat shield glowed orange as it hit the upper atmosphere. It's beautiful, Errol whispered, like watching the future being born. The ship descended through the sky, its engines firing in precise bursts to control the fall. Lower, lower until the landing legs deployed. The rocket settled gently onto the landing pad at Starbase, exactly where it had launched from 2 hours earlier. Perfect landing. The control room exploded in celebration. Engineers jumped from their seats, screaming and hugging. Years of work, countless failures, billions of dollars, all validated in this single moment. Elon stood, pulled his father to his feet, and embraced him tightly. We did it, Dad. Fully reusable orbital spaceflight. This is the ship that will take humans to Mars. Errol held his son, crying openly. You did it, not me. This is all you, Elon, your dream, your vision, your relentless refusal to give up. No, Dad. Elon pulled back, looking his father in the eyes. I learned that refusal from you in your workshop in Pretoria, watching you solve impossible engineering problems. You taught me that impossible is just a challenge waiting to be solved. Everything I've built stands on that foundation. On lessons you taught me, sometimes with words, sometimes with silence, but always with love, even when I couldn't see it. Around them, celebration continued. But in that moment, father and son existed in their own small bubble of peace. I'm sorry I almost took this to my grave, Errol said quietly. Sorry you almost never knew how I really felt. But I do know now, that's what matters. We got our second chance, Dad. How many people get that? Not many, we're the lucky ones. Yes, we are. Epilogue. 3 years later, March 2027. The Blue Leather Journal sits in a glass case in Elon Musk's office at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. But it's not alone anymore. Beside Errol's original journal are 10 more, one for each of Elon's children, their spines labeled with names in gold lettering. And beside those sits an 11th journal, this one newer, its leather still supple and dark. The label reads, Errol and Elon, the second story. Inside are entries from both father and son, written back and forth like a conversation across pages. 3 years of shared moments, healed wounds, and spoken love. April 2024, Errol. Today Elon took me to visit the Tesla factory. I watched the robots assemble cars with precision I could only dream of as a young engineer. I told him I was proud. He smiled. It felt good to finally say it out loud. June 2024, Elon. Dad met all his grandchildren properly today. He sat with X and taught him about circuits. I watched my father be the grandfather he couldn't be as a father. It's beautiful to see. Second chances are real. December 2024, Errol. I'm 79 now. Doctors say I'm healthier than most 70-year-olds. They don't understand why. I do. I have something to live for. I have a son who forgave me. I have grandchildren who know my name. I have love I can finally speak out loud. March 2027, Elon. SpaceX will send the first crewed mission to Mars in 2029. Dad will be 83, but he's coming to the launch. He promised. We'll watch together as humans become a multiplanetary species. Father and son, engineer and engineer, broken people who built something beautiful from the pieces. Every night, no matter how late, no matter how tired, both men write in their journals, because they learned that the greatest engineering project isn't a rocket or a car or a neural interface. It's telling the people you love that they matter before it's too late. And sometimes beautifully, miraculously, unexpectedly, it's never too late. Love finds a way, even across 48 years of silence, even across the distance from Earth to Mars, even across the impossible gap between a broken father and a wounded son. Love finds a way. So now you know the beautifully unexpected truth, that sometimes the people who hurt us most were just broken people trying to love us the best way they knew how. That forgiveness isn't about what someone deserves, but about freeing ourselves from the weight of anger, and that it's never too late to say, I love you. Where are you watching this from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. I love seeing our global family come together. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you're helping us spread more stories of kindness, forgiveness, and hope to people who need to hear them. You never know whose life might be changed by clicking that button. And don't go anywhere yet. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another incredible true story that will move you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, love always finds a way.